why new trommels? Because I know Savona sold trommels for years.
Yeah.
So more my question is why now launch a
Okay.
new trommel into the market?
The trommel it's hard to find used trommels, and there's always a need for them. So we just decided to build them and supply them to people who need them. Trommels get beat up out in the bush mining. So typically when someone needs one, if it's used, it has to be fixed anyways,
Right. Yeah.
or refurbished. So the time to build a new one might take a few weeks, but it takes a few weeks to rebuild a used one anyway. So
Right.
and they don't come available in the mining season. They're being used.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to start building them.
Is it a heavy duty? I mean, without being an expert on trommels, I've definitely seen some use mesh, some use steel. Is it a fairly heavy duty one in comparison to other ones in the industry, or is there sort of an advantage to the Savona trommel line?
We designed ours to be fairly simple to use, well built. If it can mine in Canada, our thinking is it can mine anywhere. We've got them working in Guyana, the Yukon, around BC, and they can withstand pretty much anything miners can throw at them. Aside from purposely trying to destroy it.
Get rid of it. But I noticed because I've been to a few of these shows, and I walked around, and then I was out at the site kind of just inspecting it and looking at it. It seemed like everything was thick, the steel was thick.
Yeah.
It wasn't sort of like these flimsy little mesh that they put on some of them and that.
Yeah, anybody that will tell you they could build a trommel. They can throw a trommel together, but it's the quality, using the right components, based on experience dealing with clients, what it takes to keep it in operation. It's not the fanciest machine on the industry.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be cost-effective, strong, well-built, and should last many seasons if you take care of it. So.
Got to jump into the one that's exciting. We actually have a cutout of one of the machines here.
I saw that on my way in.
Yeah, it turned out good. The High-G concentrators, now they've been around. Now you've taken on the line. You've personally taken on and you've partnered with Savona to distribute them. But they've been around. This is not a new, this isn't yesterday that this got released to the market. This has been around for a while, right?
Yeah, so it's been, High-G was designed in the 80s, the early 80s. Kind of around the same time that a couple other brand of concentrators, Nelson, Falcon, those are well-known brands. They all kind of came from the same technology, the same place, and they all kind of had their own take on it. So High-G developed out of that by engineers and a very intelligent mechanic who had a lot of experience in the field installing and operating concentrators. He worked with what was on the market. He wanted to make some changes, improve it. So that's what he did, and that became High-G. So in the early on, it was intended for placer use, alluvial placer mining. So some circumstances that are typical of placer is the feed side is not standard. It's larger than in a grinding application.
Oh, because you're not crushing it down.
You're not crushing it to a specific size.
Right.
So he wanted something that could handle those changing parameters, changing slurry density, that type of thing. So that's why he built the High-G concentrator. Many were sold. Unfortunately, after about 20 years of operating, that gentleman passed away, and one of his engineers continued to build them and supply them, but they weren't really being marketed. They were just used on consulting projects, etc. So then I stepped in. It was offered to me. I stepped in and purchased the company because over the years, everybody wanted a High-G, but there wasn't as many on the used market. So whenever we got one, it was sold instantly. So that was kind of the impetus for me to take on the line and incorporate it into what Savona equipment does with used equipment.
Yeah. I guess that says a lot about a brand, though, when it's years later and there's still people asking for it, even though it's not. It's because for a time it wasn't in production. So
for a time, they've always been produced. They weren't advertised. You could say.
Yeah.
They didn't have Crownsman partners.
Oh, thank you.
That's our plug.
Yeah. Except we should mention he was not paid for that.
Well, it depends how good the plug is.
I just speak the truth. What can I say?
And how has it been received into the market? You do have there's no doubt about it. You've got some pretty stiff competition with the Falcons, the Nelsons. How is it being received now that you are starting to put it out? I know we've had people already come up and ask about it. How are people responding to it? At the ground level where you're starting to push them into the market.
I think what they want to know is that it's going to be supported. There's going to be service. There's going to be parts. It's not going anywhere. That's their main concern. A lot of the experienced technical people, they know Hi-G. Some of the new people, the younger people, they don't know it. They haven't heard of it, to be honest. So that's our challenge, is getting the word out there that it's back in business. There is parts. They can be shipped anywhere in the world. There is a technical team behind it. It's a good, solid product, and Savona equipment supports it. And we've been obviously in business for 30 plus years. So I think there's a lot of excitement. These times people want to see a lot of examples out in the field. So that's what we're working on, is getting a bunch of concentrators out in the field all over the world, working so we can explain to people and show people what we already know about Hi-G concentrators.
And have you got the ones that have got out in the field already, good response from them and their operations? And
great response. I think it's okay to mention there's a concentrator working up in Nome. That's probably one of the most challenging applications we've dealt with, saltwater out in the ocean. They're very happy with it. It's been challenging because of you're out in the sea trying to, keep everything working, and there's a lot of issues specific to that application. But yeah, it does what it's supposed to do, and that is recover very fine gold.
Yeah.
And they've always worked, and they work now. So.
And it was originally designed to be able to handle a little more variation than its counterparts. That was.
Yeah, it's meant for the kind of the changing parameters inherent in placer miner. And placer mining applications.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you have a placer gold booth down from me when I saw that.
Right next to us,
Yeah.
They have a lot of nuggets. This concentrator is not really capturing nuggets. Sluice boxes can do that, but what sluice boxes can't do is recover very fine gold, like 44 micron 325 mesh. So that's where a Hi-G comes in.
So you're starting out with generally you're starting out with a trommel, then you get it down to the concentrate, which is that fine, it's basically flakes of sand, size gold then, right? And that's where the concentrator comes in.
Well, yeah, a trommel is a wash plant, so it can be a vibrating screen or a trommel. Typically, they have a sluice box, which is, I don't know how old the sluice box is, but very, very, very old. It's been used for many centuries. So then it goes. So it's actually, you can run concentrate through a Hi-G concentrator and upgrade the concentrate. You can also run head ore, like fresh material. Some of them have a screen on them. You need to screen it down to 5 millimeters.
Oh, I see.
It's about 1/4 inch. And you can feed that through. So anything 5 millimeter minus,
Right.
it can recover as fine as kind of 44 micron. That's the limit, I would say. You'll get some recovery finer than that, but that's kind of the limit.
And you have quite a range. We'll wrap up. I know you want to go out and meet some people in the show. So, but you got quite a range too of sizes. I mean, some people watching have never even heard of a gold concentrator. So, what's the size range of these machines typically?
They go from a quarter of a ton an hour to up to 60 ton per hour.
Wow. Oh, so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A maximum capacity would be about 120 ton per hour.
Really?
So from there, you multiply the units. You don't build a bigger unit.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So these get put into a process as well, a placer process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not a standalone machine.
No.
Yeah.
No. The little test size units, like the one on the sign, that is a standalone unit.
Yeah.
You hook up a pump, take a bucket of material, whether it's concentrate or gravel, and run it over that screen.
Yeah.
And you'll get your concentrate. You'll get a concentrate that then you clean up on a table, and that's how you get your final gold.